Hey everyone, this is Bryan here at Deadzone the podcast, and it's been a minute since we've had an episode go out, so wanted to release one, even though it's just going to be me flying solo. There's been a whole lot of news out of Mantic and updates since the last time we recorded. It just so happens that I'll be doing this one as a solo episode, but without further ado, welcome to Deadzone the podcast.
Welcome to the Deadzone podcast. Deadzone is the sci-fi tabletop.
Yeah, not much for a cold open since it's just me talking to myself, so that wouldn't seem strange if I kept doing that. But, like I said at the top of the show, did want to get an episode out here since it has been quite a while, and wanted to assure people like the channel's not dead or by any means, but at the same time, the reality is we're kind of a two-man band here between Scott and myself, and both of us have toddlers. So we find ourselves being very busy, and scheduling has been really difficult. And not just between Scott and myself. I've been trying to line up some additional content for the show that has also been a little tricky to get hashed out. But I did want to kind of put a little bit of that roadmap out there for people. Some of the upcoming shows that we are going to try to have happen is I had mentioned in one of the previous episodes to be reading up on the Frovox Enigma, the anthology Warpath novel that had come out not too long ago. I myself had finished reading it not in the too distant past, but I did want to talk about that because there's a great set of short stories in that collection, and I'm actually hoping to connect with some of the folks at Winged Hussar Publishing to go into a deeper dive on that. I'd love to talk about what I thought about the book right now, but I do want to kind of save it for that particular episode because I think it'll be a lot more engaging with another person on board. Additionally, I am setting up another interview with some of the folks at Mantic directly because I have connections with a few of them. So trying to get that extra word out there, being that extra voice that can relay information about upcoming updates, especially for those that are interested in the Warpath sci-fi side. I'll be covering some of the latest news on that today, but it's always nice to get it from the horse's mouth, as that phrase goes. Additionally, am hoping to connect with my good buddy Rick Hall here in the near future. It is neck deep in convention season for him, so it has been extra challenging to land a date where we could both record. He's actually going to be at Gen Con by the time this episode airs, and I might as well get into some of the updates about that. So at Gen Con, there is going to be it is very big in Halo Flashpoint, as you can imagine, with how successful that game has been. And if you've been living under a rock and haven't tuned into a lot of the Halo Flashpoint content that is out in the ether, just want to let folks know that game is I think it's going to explode even larger than before. They're doing the lead up to the Zeta Halo content, big launch that they're having, and with that you have grunts, you've got jackals, you've got the UNSC Marines are coming into play, and along with that, the Spartan Killers. So a lot of really, really awesome content coming for Halo Flashpoint, and love to see that game grow. If only because it is Deadzone adjacent, being built on a lot of the same bones. But it's great to see Mantic succeed and flourish in that way, and I think there's a lot of players that are going to be picking up some of those UNSC Marines and going, hey, it'd be fun to play some GCPS, right? Hopefully. I'd love to see people make the leap there. But yeah, so at Gen Con, there's going to be some limited stock of that new Zeta Halo releases. And so if you are listening to this either on your way or at Gen Con, or once it's in the rear mirror, hope you get a chance to check out that stuff. Say hi to the Mantic guys. It's always a great crew that works that event. Additionally, also happening at Gen Con, another good buddy of ours, Michael, is going to be running the Ghost in the Shell tabletop RPG for folks. Another big release that Mantic has had recently is that they have the Ghost in the Shell tabletop RPG. It's going to be coming to backer kit very, very soon here. In fact, it might have already happened by the time this episode airs. But that's another really great, neat IP that Mantic has gotten. Is being designed by Alessio, who's one of Mantic's head designers, and it is going to be more in the style of the classic Shiro Masamune Ghost in the Shell era. There's a lot of great 80s and 90s art on display within the book. It looks to be incredibly exciting. So if you are at Gen Con and can sign up for that RPG, tell Michael I send my best and you said hi from Bryan at Deadzone the podcast. All right, now back over to more of the Warpath universe side of the show. The biggest announcement most recently was that we just had the Wave 2 release of the digital products for Epic Warpath. That means your GCPS, your Marauders, your Nameless, and your Veermen are heading on over to My Mini Factory. This is really, really awesome, and just some fascinating and fantastic super heavies have entered the fray. And it's been funny. I've been listening to a lot of other podcasts, and one of them had an interview with Ronnie. I believe this was on Controlled Fire, and he was talking specifically about how Epic Warpath has let Mantic explore and expand their vehicle IP, as it were. And it's great to see that with all these new things coming to Epic Warpath, there is a flow back then towards Firefight, as we are expected to be getting some super heavies landing at that scale as well. So this Mantic has really, really doubled down on their 3D platform for selling STLs. They recently started up a Tribes, which is more of a My Mini Factory subscription piece that pairs with Vault in kind of a unique way. But with the Tribes, what they're planning to do is to pair that with Firefight specifically. So new factions and releases are going to be for Firefight at that kind of scale is going to be going through that Tribes outlet. Some of that's going to be circling back eventually to the Vault if it's not already out there. Some things that have already happened is that we have a base set of like enforcers, jet bikes and operatives. I believe that the Peacekeeper captain is in there, and as well as the latest Marauders have also hit the Vault and are part of this release at Tribes. So they really are taking this 3D platform head on and expanding the scope of the people they're hoping to reach. The models themselves continue to be fantastic. The renders and the detail that we've kind of been losing in some cases with some of the physical products have. When you get them in digital form, it's really fantastic to see that detail come to life, especially the epic Warpath stuff. Like it's mind-boggling, the amount of detail in those tiny minis. But yeah, so I love to see, I applaud Mantic for not shying away from this. I think it's been a great way to get content out for their games. It appeals to a lot of different people to support the games in this way. So kudos, Mantic. Keep on keeping on, man. And of course, there are those of us that want to get these Warpath minis so that we can scale them up and do all sorts of weird, crazy things. I want a whole army of Striders that I 3D printed. And what's kind of neat is, I'll get into it a little bit more later, but I have been kind of tinkering with the models in 3D to do neat, wacky things. I digress though. I'll cover that in the hobby table section. And on a similar note, one of the things that had kind of died down a little bit from earlier in the year was around the digital update for Firefight and Deadzone. It had been something where, due to circumstances, a PDF copy of the release of those rules, that 3.5 update that happened last year, didn't surface in the timely fashion that folks were hoping to get it in, and Mantic had originally proposed. Stuff has transpired and happened, but ultimately in kind of early Q3 of 2026 is that we're looking to get this full sci-fi update book. And no date that I have been able to find exactly on when that's going to be coming out. But there is talk that it's going to be kind of a combo of Warpath, Firefight, and Deadzone. That's coming right from Ronnie from a video that just went out about a week ago or two by the time this recording airs. I'm excited to see those rules kind of coalesced into more of a rule book. They have been made available in the companion for a while now, but with that, it has been, it can be kind of confusing to try to parse through what you may have, thought you knew about the game, what's changed and what's new, especially the different changes to factions and stuff like that. It's a little harder when it's on the companion to find those specific things, especially for new players who might be getting the physical book and then they're finding that, it's out of date again. But, kind of with that, I'm really curious what shape that book is going to come in the sense of the proposed combined epic Firefight Deadzone. I have no insight. I imagine there's going to be an element of trying to blend the games so that they can kind of dovetail into one another as part of maybe a larger campaign. But we'll just have to wait and see when that book ultimately becomes available to us. I, for one, as many of you guys I'm sure are, I was waiting with bated breath. Mantic, as soon as we can get more details on that, please share them, because we are on the edge of our seat. So another thing that had been confusing to myself, and I've tried to get kind of a better alignment on, is I believe Mantic is actually planning to do 2 global campaigns this year. And it confused me initially, is that Kings of War is planning to have an end of summer Kings event, global campaign with a website and everything like that. They're deep in the heart of the latest 4th edition release for Kings of War. Really cool stuff happening over there. But I did kind of confirm that they have a global campaign for Kings, but there is still one planned for the sci-fi, more in potentially that October range, I think was the latest date. That one we're still waiting to get some of the details on, as far as if it's going to be the same style as it has been in the past. we'll wait to see as we get more information on that. One of the other bits of news that is coming through as well is that in Firefight and Deadzone, the big faction refresh that is expected and announced is that the Nameless are getting a retooling and scaled up for Firefight. That means we should expect some hard plastic kits for the Nameless models. I know a bunch of folks were really excited about them back in the original release of Firefight. I believe they had just come out with that near the tail end of that particular version of the game. And so they've been absent for a while. So it's really, really cool to see them come back. They're a fascinating faction to be sure. And especially after seeing their inclusion in Epic Warpath, they're very much at the core of the Warpath setting. And obviously heavily involved in the last sci-fi campaign where they flooded a whole planet. It was fun. And so it's really cool. They're going to be coming to Deadzone and Firefight with some new minis that should be kind of taking them away from their original tooling. And we're excited to see what those guys look like. All right. And so I want to move on to the hobby table section of the show. Now, this particular section of the show is brought to you by Corvus Games Terrain. He's a proud sponsor of the show. You can get an extra little discount at checkout by going to his web store and DZ Podcast 15 at the checkout for an extra 15% off of your purchase. Corvus Games Terrain has continued to make some really excellent products. Lately, though, since I've recorded last, he actually ran a very successful Kickstarter campaign for a new version of his Paint Pal set. It's a hobby centric piece for kind of paint trays and setting up your hobby space in really cool ways. I actually got an early sample to try out. And I gotta say, from his last run where it was a lot more, there was a lot of like open locks built into the trays and stuff. I liked that set, but I did find that it was kind of flimsy. Part of it was, my old printer struggled to kind of have the fidelity that I needed, but it meant that a lot of the trays, like if it shook at all, like it could potentially pop out. The locks weren't great. Just because of my prints. But the new design that he's got is so solid. They don't do the open locks for the rows, like the paint rows anymore. It's a kind of a vertical push down to lock into place on the frame. And so they are just so incredibly sturdy. I'm blown away by the quality of this new design. And so I've actually got some pictures I'll share with my rework of my hobby area with do a little before and after. So that should be fun. But that is a great set. You should be able to, I believe, find at his web store, Corvus Games Terrain. And yeah, definitely check it out if you're looking to upgrade your hobby space. All right. Other things that are on my hobby table. Last time I recorded, I believe, with Scott, we talked about how we played our first game of Epic Warpath. Since then, I have primed up the minis, and they're kind of patiently awaiting their turn on my hobby table. I do have plans to do a really quick paint job on them. Thankfully, the paint scheme that I'd be going for is predominantly white, so I'm hoping to hit it with a wash and a little dab of color and call it done. But I'm also still kind of figuring out exactly how many of these things I need. The unit count for Epic Warpath, I don't have it kind of down intuitively yet, so I'm looking at the how many units I've got in my list and like how that translates into models and discs and stuff. So, because each unit would then have like four troops on it, or 2 vehicles, or what have you. So I'm just kind of figuring out that math before I dive too far into that project. But got things ready, got a lot of the bases primed, so that should be good to go and take off here soon. But the project that is ahead of that, I finished up my Kings of War Champions 2-player starter set. That was actually a whole lot of fun. I did multi-basing kind of for the first time, along with magnetizing those bases. So I really liked how they turned out. It was a weird combo of I did a red Basilean theme against the Forces of the Abyss, who I went with a red theme as well. The purple theme I tried initially just didn't quite turn out the way I wanted. So defaulted to red. So it is a little bit of a red versus red, but I do ultimately like how it turns out. That's kind of the scale I like to play Kings of War at, is either champions or ambush. But yeah, so that project has been taken care of, and now I am looking at getting one of these other projects that I've had on the back burner for quite a while onto the front, and that is to do Marauders at a firefight level. With the global campaign coming up and some of the new releases on the way, it inspired me to kind of finally get on track with this. And so I've got around a 1,500 point plus, not officially legal list of Marauders. And by officially not legal, I'm painting up a lot of options for me, specifically around the support area, and that'll make sense when I kind of describe it. So for my GCPS, I had gone with an Earth Federation Force style theme of Gundam, and so Marauders I've always had slated to be my Zeon Force. And I have been doing a lot of deep diving on exactly how I'd want to paint these guys up. And I have now assembled pretty much everything that I'd be looking to deploy and play with these guys. It was a combination of I had a set, the second half of the 2-player starter, was it the Battle of Cabot, the Enforcer Marauder package, and so I've got that almost all clipped up and assembled. There's over like 30 troops that I've got in there of the commandos, and a handful of special weapons as well as brawlers. I had such an eclectic collection of them because I still had a whole bunch of old style Marauder stuff, including some of the metal alternate pieces. And so I did have fun really kind of swapping out, I think, on my Ripper suits for the Rainmakers. I had went with one of the alternate heads for the hard plastic Marauders, and then for the Brawlers I actually went with some of these metal ones that I had just kind of laying around. Additionally, I've got a couple of for the Brawler side of things. I had a unit that was the power claws to them, not just the regular claws. But like with that, I had 2 extra sets of the metal ones that go on the right side. So all in all, I've got a whole bunch of Marauders now that it was funny because I was approaching that faction going, it's like, yeah, this will be an easier one to do because they have a smaller unit count compared to like GCPS, which were like, I've got a unit and I need 10 models for it, and I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. Still turned out to be a whole lot of minis. In order to unlock, I've got 2 stunt bots. I'm gonna have 3 grunt bots. I've got some of the gun track. I'm gonna have one of the Hornets with the horntail conversion. I've just kind of got a little bit of everything because I just wanted to flesh out that whole line and get that Xeon theme in place. I'm gonna have campers. I'm gonna have Akais. I'm gonna have Zaku's. I'm gonna have goofs. It's gonna be fun. I'm really excited. It also has led to me tinkering with some of the 3D models. Some of the things I've been doing is like taking riot shields and scaling them up to be for my Ripper Warlord that I'm planning to get. Turns out I don't actually have that model, but I'm planning to use that to make him kind of my goof custom. So he'll have his Gatling gun with a big old shield to go with his gun. I've really just kind of been tinkering with everything. And the mule, I was thinking it'd be fun if it had a different cockpit than than the GCPS one, just to differentiate to make it a Marauder one. And so I actually tooled around with a 3D model and merged the Stuntbot cockpit with the front of the GCPS mule, and it kind of turned out neat. But it's just another way that I've been kind of messing with things to differentiate them from the regular GCPS models. And it's been a whole lot of fun. It's been a neat creative project. I've got almost all of it assembled. I got almost all of it primed from that. And yeah, it's probably going to be the thing that hits my table next. I'm going to be probably doing some slap chop to get the infantry painted up. I've got a scheme that's going to do them as green skin, but they're going to be kind of green Xeon for a bunch of the commandos. And then I'm also going to be doing there's like a gray uniform that peeks up every now and then in the franchise. So I'm going to have some gray uniforms for my brawlers. And like I said, a lot of the mobile suits will kind of be represented in different ways throughout. But yeah, I'm actually pretty geeked about that project. Really looking forward to getting it come to fruition. The next thing on my docket then is going to be figuring out how I'm going to transport all these guys. I've been exploring 3D models for that effect as well. So. And honestly, apart from all the Mantic news, that was actually the big thing I wanted to have an episode about, was my hobby table. I'm still incredibly passionate for these games from Mantic. Not just the Halo Flashpoint, which I still have a heck of a lot of fun getting together a bit more regularly with some folks at a local store to play that, which has been a really good time. But I am still kind of, I get that hankering every now and then. It's like, I want to get these guys playing like Firefight or Deadzone or, doing some Kings of War or something. So I'm going to be kind of gently nudging folks. And as much as I can have multiple options for folks to play with, I think that'll come to fruition. I did manage to land a very large Forge Father collection from Firefight from a close friend who was looking to downsize, and it just so happened that he had painted them up in the same color scheme I was planning to do my Forge Fathers. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do with all my old ones that look so subpar standing next to the new stuff that I got. But I digress. I've been winding on here for quite a while, all things considered. And I just want to say, really appreciate those that support the show. Thank you for your patience as, we try to get schedules aligned. We do still have some really neat stuff planned for the show and for our audience. Like I said, a number of interviews coming up, some guest hosts for the show. And then obviously Scott and I are going to try to get together more often and get some games in. And yeah, the Warpath firefighting stuff, these games sometimes get overshadowed by a lot of the other news that's coming out at Mantic. And so just want to kind of reiterate, this is still very much at a passion project for the folks there. They still love this universe that they created. There's always new stuff coming out for it, even if it's kind of sidelined or not as prominently featured as some of their more popular ranges. But always excited to see more Deadzone, more Firefight, more Epic Warpath, and I think we got a lot in store for the future. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you all have a safe and wonderful summer. What are you all still doing here? It's just me this whole time. You can go home. Good night.